introduce yourself. Give us a quick TLDR in like
cats.
2-3 minutes. It can be the cat form, it can be the human form, whatever you want.
Yeah. So I'm Stefan Kunert, and my Discord is Coffee. You might know me from the Peddlers Land and Cats. And yeah, I'm all-around creative, I would say. My profession is copywriting in German, so this is not my native language I'm talking right now. Yeah, that's my main business. Copywriting for ad agencies, for clients, direct clients in Web 2 and Web 3. So that's my main focus. Then the second focus is like drawing coffee monsters. That's my art project. It's like drawing coffee monsters from coffee stains. It's like, I don't know if you can see that, but that's a mug with a coffee monster on it. And then the third thing I do is like music. I'm in a metal band called Norded. Or Norded, however you want to call it. And that is a metal band with German lyrics. So that's the three main parts. So writing, drawing, and making music. Yeah, that's my wrap up. And I'm doing this for like, I don't know, bands. I'm in bands since I think, when was it, 2005. I'm in advertising since 2009. And yeah, and I studied communication design. Maybe that's also interesting. I don't know. That's a quick TLDR about the coffee.
So, recap for everyone. It's just, man's a creative copywriter. He's a musician, and he's an artist. And what was the last thing you did too? You're like full on creative. Like, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about like, maybe like how you grew up, right? Like starting there, like, were you always creative growing up? Like, were you always just like doodling, like doing stuff?
Yeah, that's my main thing. That's why I ended up doing the coffee monsters, I guess, because they're like comic characters. So I read a lot of comics back when I was young, and also started doodling very, very early in school. So when, back row of the classroom, right? You have like your big, whatever you call it, I don't know, your thing there where you can put paper in, and then you just like doodle the thing. Every piece of paper was full of doodles. So that was my thing in school, and also later on, I guess. That was the first creative thing I did. And then I decided, because of some weird test in school, don't ask me, I decided to pursue that as a career. So I tried to get in art school after having my Abitur. That's like, I don't know what it is in the US. It's like college, I guess. So my college degree. And then I went basically to art school and to design school and studied design. And from there on, I learned how to design stuff for sure. And also how to draw. We had like drawing classes. So I could like excel more in drawing. And then the next step was like, I had one class that was called copywriting, basically. And I was like, what's that? I don't know. Let's get into that. And I was like, oh, okay, it's like writing, but for advertising, and was super intrigued about it. So I got into that, got a good internship in Hamburg, Germany, back then in 2009. And from there, it took off, I guess. And I just like went through several ad agencies, and now I'm freelance. Right. Yeah. So that's like the long story.
Yeah. That's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot of stuff on the way. I know that's because I'm like almost 40. So
you don't look 40, dude, in any way, shape, or form. Maybe the gray in the beard, but like that's about it.
Maybe the gray. Yeah, that's it. That's always gives it away.
No, but you look young AF. I feel like if you shaved the beard, you'd fucking be like 29, 30 max.
When I shave the beard, I look like 16.
Dude, I look like a infinite baby. Even if I grow a beard, I still look like a baby. Like, that's my problem.
Oh yeah. Now I would like to see you But yeah.
Yeah, my hair is a mess, bro. I'm like,
It's a mess. After know he just like woke up to make a call.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right. A lot to unpack here, real quick. Hold up.
Also, like from my first ad agency's job, the Coffee Monster's origin, like I was so bored. I was so bored at the job because it was like in a small agency with good clients like Canon, right? The camera company, and like Vodafone and shit. But it was like so boring because we only did like the smallest of small jobs, like concept work and shit. And I needed something to do creative every day. And that was the initial spark for the Coffee Monsters, because I just like sipped over a coffee mug, right? And just spilled it all over the table and hit a paper. And the paper looked like a monster after that. And so I was drawing on it the next day. And from then on, I just like took a spoon and splashed a little bit of coffee every day. And did it, I don't know, 2 years for every day. And that was very, very like straight work then. But it was also super creative because you always need to see something in the next day and then the next day. You never know how it looks, right? So that's the fun part about that.
So you did that for 2 years straight. Like you started that and then you were like, I'm running with this. Like when that happened, like what was in your mind? You're like, you immediately thought, I'm gonna do this every day. I fuck with this. Like this is the idea.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's so weird to just like splash coffee on the paper, because my colleagues were like looking at me and like, what the fuck is he doing right now? And I was like, when they have that reaction, it might be right.
Yeah, like that's it. That's it. Yes.
Because they were the people who like did the boring shit. I was like, okay, maybe that's right to do. I was like, okay, I'll go with that. And then I really did it every day just for my own pleasure, right? And then just uploaded it on Instagram back then. Instagram was just new, right? So it was nothing I cared about too much. And then somewhere in, I don't know, 2016 or so, I think I started 2011. And then 2015, there was like an article on Bored Panda. You know that? That's just like a site that spreads art into all directions.
No, I haven't.
Like they have 2 million followers on their pages and shit. So that was like a major like kick. And then it just like blasted up to 20,000 followers, and I'm stuck there since. Because I don't do anything with it. So, but it was super, super intense. And at that time I decided, okay, people like that shit. And when they see it, right? The thing is, to make them see, you have to do ads and all that shit. And I don't have the power beside my other jobs to do that. I don't like to, and I don't want to. So I don't. And then after that initial kick, I was like, damn, that's my chance to create a book from it. Because I was just like, a designer needs to have a book. I don't know. Every designer can relate, maybe, because a book is like something you have in your hand, and it's fucking cool to have a book in your hands. I don't know. Do I have it here? I say, yeah. So that's a book. It's a fucking biggie.
Yeah.
It's a fucking biggie, right?
That's beautiful.
So, and that's like embossed and shit. It's super cool. And so that's like the print is super nice paper and shit. But the good thing is, even better, it gets better. You can like detach the last 8 pages and hang it to your walls.
That's fire.
And that's like, yeah, that was a book I always wanted to make in design school, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like,
that's awesome, dude. Totally.
And I just fucking kickstarted the shit out of it. Then I just like had, I don't know, 400 or 450 people supported the Kickstarter.
Let's go.
And from there on, it was like, okay, now I have a book. Nice, let's go. And it was just like for me, right?
Yeah.
It was just, I did it for me because I was like, oh, okay, fuck it. I want to make a book, and that's it. I still have like, I don't know, 600 lying above me. But to be fair, we produced like 2,000 and it's only 600 left. So
That's crazy. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And you could like order it from Amazon and shit.
Yeah.
Right?
How did you
when
feel
I had a publisher.
when that was out? Like once you finished it, how did you feel when it was out? Like were you like stressed because you were like,
no, exhausting, man. So exhausting. You have no idea. I had like an ad agency job at the time, and it was like, ad agencies, right? So you go to work at like 9 and then you come back at like 9 to 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's like super weird. And then I had a time where I came back home and then I did another shift of like 6 hours, just finish the book and finish like social media shit and all that stuff, right? So I did just like full 18-hour day or whatever, something like that.
Finding it out.
My math is just like,
Just grinding
whatever.
it out.
Yeah, it was just like super grinding at that time, but it was worth it because when you hold the book in the hand for the first time, it's just like so cool.
Yeah,
I can recommend.
can imagine.
And then the fucked up part came because I didn't really calculate the parcels very good. I just came out at 0. So it was like no win, just 0 in the book. Yeah, that was super fun. Anyway, yeah, that was cool. It was, I don't know, did you ever pack like 450 parcels and ship them by hand? It's so dumb. It's such a...
It's exhausting. It is exhausting.
We had like 4 people packing for 2 days. And it's so weird to say that, but it took so long because every parcel was like, there needs to be one perk there, right? So you have like several perk editions and shit. And it was so weird. And then needed to ship it with Deutsche Post, and Deutsche Post is like I don't know. It's the best for international shipping, but they suck. It suck anyway. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, logistics
Probably
is a
like
pain.
UPS. Yeah, logistics is a real pain. Also with like sending shit to the US and or UK now.
International.
like-
Yeah, that's even worse, bro. That's even worse.
Oh, international shipping, right? And I was like trying to get the lowest fees out of it and shit. So I had to pack them in a special way, and it was super annoying. Really pain in the ass. I made an Excel sheet. Maybe I can share in the Discord. I had a Excel sheet made just to how not to fuck up your own book project on Kickstarter. So that's just like a checkoff list,
That you made or you
Yeah,
got from someone else?
No, I made it.
Oh, you made
because
it.
I fucked up. I fucked up with my parcel
Should be selling it on Gumroad.
calculation and shit.
Should be like growing your
Yeah.
newsletter. You'd be like, you sign up for here, give me some donations or something.
Yeah, maybe good idea. Maybe.
I'm always in the marketing brain. I'm always like, okay, how can we take our ads?
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. I mean, obviously I'm in marketing too, but sometimes it's just good to talk about it with another person.
I feel like I was gonna get to this where it's like I feel like because I come from the music background. Actually, I come as a classical musician, but it's always I studied arts administration, which is like the business side of it, like management and doing all that shit, right?
Yeah, man.
And it was funny because I would struggle when I was in school, when I was in grad school specifically, when I was doing both majors at the same time. When you're doing management, you're so logical brain and you're not creative whatsoever. I tried to like go sit down and be creative and I just couldn't. And it just like, it wouldn't come out of me. And then my teacher was like, nah, yeah, dude, like you can't do both at the same time. You have to go through like seasons where you're like, I'm going to be fully logical and I'm going to be fully creative. And like trying to do both at the same time, you can't do it. You're going to fuck yourself. And like I tried and I really couldn't. And you just can't. And it's so true. And I'm curious, like, how do you delegate your any logic work that you do now, or do you manage everything yourself?
I managed everything myself. Thing is, I tend to, I don't know how to delegate it, to be honest, because I think like I need to have like client contact just so I understand them, because if someone who I could like delegate client calls and shit like that. But if I do that, the work will suffer. So I can't do that. I could like delegate invoicing and stuff like that, but that's not much to do. So it has no sense, makes no sense, right? So that's the things I could delegate. And speaking of my copywriting business, right? And that's about it. So I don't know what to delegate.
Yeah, well,
to be honest.
I was kind of thinking about like when you mentioned earlier, like you don't like doing ads, for example, like when you're running your business, right? And it's just because it feels like you're like, oh, I don't want to sell myself. I feel like that's like a common theme among creatives.
No. Selling myself is totally fine.
You're fine with that.
I'm fine with that. I enjoy business calls, like discovery calls and shit, because it's like you get to know people, you can see what they need, what they want, or you need to like listen very carefully so you get to know what they want. Sometimes they come with, oh, I need a new tonality for my brand. And then I look at the brand and I'm like, no, you don't, because it's good what you do, but you need to sharpen it a bit. So that's all. So that's something I enjoy. I like to put me out there. That's okay. But I don't do it that often. I know that I need to if I like to have more impact. But it's like such a struggle. And I'm also like, I just became a father and shit, right? So that's like, it has more of my attention right now.
Yeah.
And also the copywriting business is like not that adsy. So for the Coffee Monsters, make totally sense to like put ads on Facebook and Instagram and just like let them roll with $30 per day or whatever, and just like get rid of the books or something. But then on the other hand, it's like it needs to work then, because everything I overpaying comes from my pocket, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to consider also. But yeah, I should have done ads before. Sometimes I think it's too late now. I don't know why, but yeah.
I feel like for, at least now, honestly, the best ads that I've seen, and even from experience, especially for products like this, probably like TikTok, you can get like the most bang for your buck for like organic, like even just you just flipping through, like doing like a quick, because you have the energy. I feel like you can just make like quick organic video on your phone, record that shit, like you flipping through, like, or making one, like even for example, just showing people the process, and then quick, high speed fucking 15-second video, like that shit would rip.
Yeah, man. That the thing is, I'm on TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok, right? With my Coffee Monsters, because it was like, oh, not another one, not another social network.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Get off of me. That's such a. Bro, I was on MySpace.
Same. Dude, I miss
MySpace. You miss MySpace?
I miss my friend.
You miss it?
I miss my friend.
Yeah, you miss Tom. Yeah, I miss Tom. But I don't know. Back then, we all learned to code HTML.
Same. Yeah. That's where I learned, and I didn't realize.
That was good. But the rest, I don't know. It's okay that Facebook took over, and then like Instagram, now TikTok has it. They all have their like niches right now. So X is like the rambling and degen shit, at least in my bubble. And then like Instagram is a beautiful, I don't know, whatever, beautiful and artsy shit. And TikTok for me is like red, most of the time mindless video content that's just like going off and trying to be funny. And that's not so me. It's also me a bit, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can fill up a whole channel with it. That's just like it. Maybe that's the problem.
No, I feel like you totally could. I feel like, at least in my head, I'm like, yeah, if you just showed the process of you making the Coffee Monsters, people would eat that up.
Yeah, I tried to do that on YouTube as a long format and as a short form too. I don't know. And that didn't work that well, but maybe TikTok. It's always worth trying. So, yeah.
That's the one thing I like about TikTok is at least the way the algorithm works is that you don't get punished, like similar to like Twitter puts you in like subgroups, and then you're hard stuck in your subgroup that like you can't leave unless you like play a reply guy for like a really long time or have to make a completely new account. Whereas TikTok treats every video as like a one-off, and it never like subjects you to be like being stuck. So you can experiment a lot in the beginning and be like, all right, let me find the format that works.
But you have also been stuck in some weird shit, right?
Yeah.
On TikTok.
Yeah, no, for
like
sure.
when you like neck cracking shit.
Oh, that's my favorite. I ain't gonna lie. Like every once in a while, and I hear that, I'm so happy. I'm like, oh yes, this is what I need today.
Yeah. Oh yes. It's almost like it happened to yourself.
Yeah. You feel cleansed. And I always think I'm like, damn, I gotta go to the chiropractor here. Like, or I start trying to crack my back, and I like fucking. I'm like, shit, this hurts.
Yeah, man. It's really not the best thing to do.
I have a bad habit for that. Very bad habit. All right.
Cool.
All right, let's unpack. Let's go back because you gave a lot.
Go back.
You went to design school.
Yes.
For you, what was that like? Like, what were some of the key takeaways that you took from that?
First of all, I think it was the most creative time in my life. I guess so, yeah. Creatively seen, it was like try out and do anything you need to do right now. And that was like super fun. Also like my band's origin from there. So that's also good. And I found like super close friends. To be in design school was like, not like learning, right? It was just like being creative. It was just about being creative. Some classes were like, okay, now I need to learn a bit. But most of the time it was just like trying out. And yeah, just like being a cat, right? So just like, fuck it and try it. And if it doesn't work, doesn't matter. So I guess in design school, we learned to don't give a shit about deadlines and do everything in the last couple of minutes. That's something we learn the hard way, but it's very, very, very useful in agencies because you have no time whatsoever. But back then it was like just really a fun place where all my friends were and people to hang out with and be creative with and like discuss life and party hard for sure. Yeah, it was a good time. It was just like a really, really good time. And I tried a lot of things there. So like photography, drawing, layout, typography. What did we also do? Like Cinema 4D shit. And we had like courses for everything. And then in the last like 4 years, how's that called? Semesters?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
In the last 4, I was like really stuck with advertising concepts, like advertising and the broader picture of an ad campaign and like customer surveys and shit like that. So we worked our way through this and came up with like big campaign ideas for big German brands and competed against other design schools. That was cool. Something like that. That was really nice. But yeah, that's maybe my rambling memory of design school. It was like really a place where you can like do what you want, but also have like tasks from school. But you always could like try to solve it your way. There was nothing like a given path.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was, but it was never for me because I was like, no, I don't want to have it look like that. I don't want that. I once did like photography with a middle format camera, and my professor was like a good photographer, and she was like super strict about everything, right? I was like in the red room, I was like developing all the negatives. Also something like that, right? We developed real negatives there and in the bath and shit. It was so cool. And then it came out very dark and very, very contrasty. And I liked the look very much because I already was in metal and shit. So it was like,
yeah.
And then she was like, no, that's not good. And there's also grain on the photography and shit. I was like, yeah, but I let it there because because of like the look, right? Like dust
Yeah.
enters the development of the photo. And it was like, looked so cool. But she didn't like it and like gave me a 3+ or something. I don't know. What is it in C or something? Is it? I think it must be a C or D in US. And I was like, what the fuck? How can you like judge a creative process and judge a creative outcome? It should never be judged, in my opinion, because it's just like so subjective.
Yeah, that's hard, right?
Yeah, it's super hard because everybody likes something, and I was like, you need to find the people that like your shit. That's super hard. But when you find them, that's a super good experience because then you realize, okay, there's other people who like that. It's not only me. Because everybody in photography class back then said, bro, don't bother, you'll have an A+. And I was like, I don't know. Because I knew the professor like her was like not that way, right? She didn't like it from the beginning. And I was like, I probably won't. And so I got to see. And everybody else was like, what? How could that be? Because they all liked it. But it was more artsy and was not designing. And you have to make a separation between those two. Because when you do art, it's like free. It's like not bound. It's like completely off of your mind, right? Design is like a task you need to solve. Maybe that was when I learned that.
And then from there, you went to copywriting, right? Like you took a course, you said, and then you got into copywriting. So I'm curious how that design background influenced and like helped you out in copywriting.
The design background helps because it's like the same thought process. So in copywriting, at least for ad agencies, you're always like thinking ideas first. So in main ideas. So that was very common for me. And from then on, I just like needed to write better, right? And how do you get better at writing? Write. So I just like wrote so much. And if you look back on it, I don't know how many pages in Word that would be, right? But it's like, I also wrote for my band, obviously, prior to that. So I was like, okay, finding interesting word combinations was my thing anyway. So I was like trying to incorporate that. And the design part is like more like the thinking background needed to be the same to have a great copy that goes along with the design of the art director. Because in ad agencies, you're most of the time a team of two, like the copywriter on the one hand and the art director on the other. And to have a very good understanding of design helps super much to like understand the art director's like viewpoints. And like when you discuss layout and he says, yeah, fuck it, we need to trim that line, like 2 words need to get out because it looks like shit. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. Another copywriter might have said, no, we don't. Try. Right? So I guess that helps in work with other people very much. And the design school thought process stayed up until now. It still helps me. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Constant creative, like, problem solving, basically. You're like, here's a problem.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, how do I fix this? Or not fix this, but like, how do I, come up with something?
Yeah, right. That's like the main thing I do, I guess, yeah. For any client, if they need a tonality or a branding part or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's always the same process. You get a more or less problem or a demand or whatever, right? And then you try to solve it and try to make it better from the point where you started. Yeah.
I'm curious, like, because I feel like all this creative work that you do, it's like, at least for me, like coming from a similar creative background, right, where it's like you learn these skills and you're going to school and you're doing all these things, you're getting better, and you gain confidence. But like, do you ever get to a point where you're like so confident in your work that you're like, whatever I do is like a banger, or do you always have that looming, like, at least for me, like, that always looming? You're like, it could be better. Like, you should always be learning. Like, you know what I mean? Or do you think you do that? Or like, where's the balance for you?
It would be nice to have the confidence sometimes, because like most of the time I don't have it. I don't know why it is, but it's like I always question my stuff. It's like super annoying, to be honest, because sometimes I did a good job and I will like smash it to the ground because I think it's not worthy. And other people are like, what? That's great. That's great. In my copywriting, that's sometimes a problem because it takes super, super long to make something 100% cool. But it's almost definitely is enough to maybe hit 80% and everybody will be cool with it. And that's like the fun thing you need to maybe switch in your mind, or in my mind at least, I switched that to like not overdo it, right? Just like settle with something you wrote in the last couple of hours and that's good. But you need to like know what is good for that. So you need to like have a good taste in wording, in ideas. And I think that taste develops with time, right? So I think experience in the job is, or in the general field of design and writing, I think experience matters, because when you are young, you just like try to fuck all over the place and just like do whatever, right? And just like try out and say, yeah, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. I don't know. And then someday you'll be like, oh, okay, that's really cool. But that the other stuff I wrote is like, no, we don't need that. Put it away, put it in some jar, let it rot, whatever. And that's, I think, important to know what's good and what looks good but isn't. That's hard to separate sometimes.
Yeah.
Also for me. So
how did you go about it? Like, you said it take time, but like when you were going through the time, where were the like situations that you found where you're like, okay, I maybe should have like taken this out, like, or this wasn't used for, or you gotten feedback from someone else and you're like, yeah, this didn't work for us or something. Like, how do you decide?
Yeah, I decide by pure gut feeling, I must say. It's really that simple. But I have to say, it's like I'm working in copywriting since 2009. That's like 14 years now. 1 decade plus 4 years. And if you don't know by then, I don't know.
Like,
maybe just know then. But it's really hard because at the beginning, I know my struggle as a junior copywriter. It was so hard because like my creative director, super nice guy. I came to him with like sheets full of claim ideas, full of headlines, full of whatever. And it was like, okay. And he just like read like this, right? Super fast, doesn't care. When something struck his eye, he's like, that's good. Think about it. Not like take this, but it was like, just think about it. That direction is good. And then it goes on from there, right? And then you like, I don't know, you write in an agency, you write 100 headlines or something, and then there's 2 good. So it's 2%. Throw away 98% of your work. And then even the last 1% also needs to get rid, because it can only be 1 headline. At least back then when we had like print ads and shit. So you had like 1 headline. Now you can do like several headlines and just like test the shit out of it and just like do it that way. if you want to do online advertising. But yeah, back then, maybe 1% of your work was worth going somewhere. And it was super hard to see, but the process makes you sensible for good shit. That's how you learn it, in agencies at least. And I don't know if you can learn it in any other way, because I see so many copywriters on LinkedIn, because copywriters is not like a saved, I don't know, not like engineer or something. You need to have a degree, right? At least in Germany, it's like, if you're an engineer, you need to have a degree, a diploma or something. And if I cannot be an engineer in Germany, right? But everybody who's an engineer can just say he's a copywriter.
Yeah.
And that's so annoying, because at least for professional people who like did the grind work in agencies and shit, it's super annoying, because it's so hard to come up with an original line, an original headline. And that's like not sounding as if it's prompted by ChatGPT.
Exactly.
And a lot of people right now, like, they just use that tool and they write themselves and think that's good, but it very, very often isn't. And I think, fuck, they sell that shit to other people. Well, how? And who buys it? But then you come back, right? There's something in for everybody. So if you come to me, you maybe pay more because you get an original headline. Well, at least it's original then.
Yeah, it's the story and intent behind it. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like the thought process that goes through it. And I learned that actually with Head Top in our community. I don't know if you remember Head Top.
No.
But he's from the Cuts community, and he did a masterclass when we used to do them back, the 313 masterclasses, where they would do like, hey, here's a creative, like here's how they do. And he just showed off like how he did design work, and he does a lot of website stuff. So he showed off the new Cypher or 313 website, and he would go through the process. He's like, here's the tools I use, blah, blah, blah. But he created a story behind it, right? He's like, here's my thought process. Even this little tiny button, he's like, I had to go through all these iterations. And then I was like, oh shit. And I'm like, that's design. Yeah. That is like, you know.
That's designing, right.
And it's the same thing
and
with
that's the same
like,
with copywriting, because you think about every fucking word, you know? You just go like through a website. When I read a website, for example, it's like, okay, what's the first thing we see? We see most of the times a big headline. It's like, this is the headline. It needs the most attention, because you will lose everyone if that is not the banger, right? So you need to be very careful with that one. It needs to be fucking great. And from then on, you can like, after the headline, if it catches the attention, you can have like a little subline that's also great, but like not in that headline great. You know, it can be greatly written, it can be a bit witty or whatever, but it needs to capture the information I want to bring. The headline can be information, but also can be only brand, image, whatever. But it needs to capture the attention very, very fast. That's hard to do if you're deciding on a headline for a website. So that's not that easy. I think many people don't understand the thought process that goes into designing headlines and designing speech, I think. So sometimes I tell people I do design for words, word design or something, like spoken word design, tonality design. That's like what I do most of the time. And people don't understand why it costs a little bit more than. No, and I need to like tell them why.
It's a narrative and story, and like for me, it's a thought process that you put behind it, right? Like each word is like there's a reason behind each little word, each detail.
Yeah,
and it's so much care.
Yeah. So on my own website, it's like the German headline: "Ich bin erst happy, wenn alle deine Marke verstehen." It's like I'm only then happy if everybody gets your brand, right? So that's a line, I would say that's good. But the next line is even Yeah. So you can write it like the first thing your customers will read is your text, right? Or the last thing. So that was like other thing I wrote on my website. So if you don't do good here, you probably might just lose people.
Yeah, it's everything. I'm curious. Okay, let's be honest here. Don't lie to me. Have you used ChatGPT at any point just for ideas? Not to write the copy, but like just to be like, fuck it, let me get some ideas.
Sure. Why not?
Okay,
Sure.
okay. I just wanted to see.
It's a fucking good tool. It's like super interesting what it comes up with sometimes, because it's like, okay, I didn't think so. Also, it makes me capable of doing things I couldn't do before. Like, I don't know, some days back I used it for, I don't know exactly, but I used it for outlining something, right? If you like use it for outlining maybe an article or like outline a website about XYZ, you can skip a little bit of thought processing in your head. But most of the time when it comes to real copywriting work, it really disappoints me. I have to say that. It's okay for quick drafts, maybe like for information gathering. But even if you get the information from ChatGPT, you don't know if it's right. So you have to like check twice. I don't know if it's that helpful right now, but sometimes it's good to just open your mind. You don't need to have the white sheet of paper anymore.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, because it just like gets you going, I guess. You just prompt something and think, okay, that's also making something in my head. So maybe that's the best use case for me right now. It might be that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you prompt it, and then even if it sucks, at least you can be like, okay, at least I know that's not what I want.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I use it for, right? So just like prompt and then see what it does. Sometimes I have like clients who send me their memo, and I'm like, write that memo to an article or something. Because I'm not like a journalistic writer, yeah. So it's like if I have to write like really an article for a newspaper or something, that's not my cup of tea. I'm a creative copywriter who is good at headlining and at short copy, and long copy is not my thing. So I asked ChatGPT, go ahead, write a long copy from this and show me, right? And it's like, okay. And then I have the long copy and just like need to redirect it into the right way, because it's most of the time, as I said, shitty. But then I have something to start with. I have all the information in I got from my client. I can try to use that. And if it doesn't work, like you said, I just can start over, right?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So I use it, but it's like most of the time it doesn't do what I want. And what I like. And I still think it's super hard to really do good copywriting with ChatGPT. Maybe you can't. I don't know. At least now.
Yeah.
Until it can like scan me totally and scan my writing style and everything and scan my brain for everything I know. So maybe then.
Maybe then. I mean, some people train a couple of different like specific models, right, to try and do that. Because I've done that a couple of times where I'll take, for example, like I'll take a famous person from Twitter who's like famous for their writing, right? And I'll just be like, okay, let me copy all of their tweets and see if I can like plug it in here and see. But it's still like even
shit, right?
It's still shit. Like even if I use something like Claude AI, which is a little better in terms of like context, understanding, and tone, it's a little better for copy. But I'm like still always like, hey, it's missing that like, I don't know what it is. It's missing that like factor.
Yeah. And that's it. I used it yesterday to just like wrap up a memo, right? And I was like, fuck, I forgot like 3 of the main things in the memo. So couldn't use it. It was just like, okay, then I'll just write it myself. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it's a good tool to get rid of the white paper of a blank sheet. And else, I don't know. It's like, yeah, maybe that. And information gathering if it works. But you always have to check.
Fair. And I'm curious now. I'm gonna slightly pivot to your music stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you said you met your band back in college, basically.
Not the band I'm in right now, but I met my second band I met in college. My first band I met in school. Yeah. But my second band I met at college, and we did like a good amount of good, weird, funky music. That was cool.
What has been like the influences of like who were your influences of music like when you were growing up that like helped you now, basically?
Oh man, I was listening to, how is it called? House music back when I was like a teenager. So it was like a totally different thing with bass and like disco music. Like not the disco music, but like very loud. And I was just like, I had like towers in my room just like blast me with bass. I once overdrived like a high speaker, you know?
Oh my, yeah.
It was so loud. I don't know how my parents could keep up with that, but yeah.
And they let you?
Thanks.
That's crazy.
Thanks for that.
That's crazy.
So that, yeah, we had a good amount of time alone at home, so it was like
Party, yeah.
let's go. And then it someday switched to rock music because it like just like make me feel something more, and right now also does. So rock was always like more the human music, you know. You have to do it with your hands, you have to sing it, and that was what I was into then. And one day someone gave me System of a Down,
Oh,
and that was my way into becoming a singer, because I dig that shit. Man, what's that rough and raw and fucking epic. And they had some songs where like Serj Tankian, the singer, was like roaring and like growling and screaming. Most of the time he was just like speaking, right? So like more or less rap, not rap, but like speaking and yelling. And sometimes he just went into screams and like squeals. And I was like, what the fuck is he doing? That's so cool. And I was like in my car back then, screaming that shit. And I was like doing that. And after that, it was clear to me that I need to have a band or something. I don't know how to do that, but let's go. And I just asked, I think we went to Prague. That's a city in Czech, with class on our like last year of college. And I was like, okay, there's that guy who plays drums. And I just asked him if he wants to do a band. And we then said, okay, cool. Let's speak about it when we're back in school. Then we spoke about it in school. And then we just found a guy who can play guitar. And then we formed our first band. And that was like Nilaya, like the name of a fallen angel. So I was the first, I think the band was like 4 years or 3 years. And we just like played gigs right around town and shit. And it was like super nice. And then we all got into like our cities for studying. So we separated then. But there I found another band. And that was more like the music that also has a lot to do with my musical career. Like it sounded a bit like Rage Against the Machine. Or yeah, it was such a mashup. It was such a mashup. I will send you the links later to the other bands. Because I'm now living in North Germany. That's like the band now. It was also founded in Hamburg. It's the northern part of Germany. And all the other bands are like from the western part of Germany, where I grew up and had my design school. Yeah. But the influences have been Serj Tankian from System of a Down, for sure. was the reason why I started to sing and started to scream. And then there was Anders Frieden from In Flames. That's a Swedish death metal band, or melodic death metal band. People call it that way, I guess. And they had like the album We Root to Remain out, and it was so intense for me. I don't know. Still one of my favorite albums. And that one just stuck with me so long. I just like went to the store and bought it with a friend, and we like copied one CD so we both could have one. Like split price.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like so expensive back then, right? I don't know if you remember, but a CD was like 30 euros or something. It was super expensive.
Wait, are we talking like the big ones, or are we talking about like the small CDs, like the normal?
Smaller CDs. It was like $16.
Yeah, it was like
something like that.
It's like $20.
It was super expensive. It was super expensive for us as like school kids.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
It was so expensive. And it's just like you love that CD so much then because you had to pay for it so much. Probably. Also because of music for sure. And then I just like listened to In Flames, Soilwork, and shit like that. All the Swedish death metal bands and stuff like that. So that was my way into that shit. And also into heavier screaming and growling for sure. So now I use it in the music of Norded. Yeah, we're a German-speaking metal band. I don't know what style of metal that is, but we're still also finding out ourselves, so we'll see. Yeah, so that's the main influences. Serj Tankian from System of a Down and Anders Frieden from In Flames. And then back in the days, also I have to say, you cannot escape the stuff your parents listen to. So there was a lot of Michael Jackson. There was a lot of Queen, the almighty Queen. And there was a lot of German folk rock musicians like, I don't know, you probably don't know them, but Peter Maffay and Pur, which are like names Pure. They do rock music, more or less rock pop in Germany. That's like what my mother was hearing. My father was like more Michael Jackson and Queen, and my mother was like Pur and shit like that. So they also had more rock in their listening. So maybe that was also the upbringing then.
That's honestly incredible. Like, System of a Down also, I don't know, wait, how old were you when you first listened to them?
Oh, when did the album come out? 2001? Toxicity? I don't know. I would need to check. I think 17, I guess. Wait. System of a Down. We have PCs here, right?
Yeah, right.
We can check. So when did Aber Soil was also there, right? Yeah, the self-titled was from 98. But Toxicity was from 2001, yeah. I was 16, 17 then.
Crazy kid. I was in middle school at the time.
Yeah.
It's a great.
I was in like end of start of college years. I don't know how in Germany it's like different school systems.
So, okay, so you have your band now, and
yeah,
like, you're the singer from.
I'm the singer.
So I'm curious because like you do a lot of like I see a pattern of like, you know, you do copywriting and now you're also the singer. So how do you come up with like your lyrics, and like how did that influence, like, do you have the same method of how you come up with lyrics?
It's not quite the same. It's very different, to be honest, because in copywriting I have some set of information I need to like put in the copy and then put into a great way of writing. But when you write for yourself and write like original lyrics, so it's also lyrics. So in German, you get the word lyric. It's like poems and stuff, right? So poetry, more or less. So you can just like go another way and just like totally get your inspiration from anywhere. And I think sometimes for me, like words that just like rain into your head from the ether, right? And then you just have to write them down. And if you don't write them down, they also leave your head again. And it's gone then. If you decide to think those words are worthy to get written down, when you decide to write those words down, you have something original in my mind. Because if you don't, someone else will somewhere also get these words into his head, filled into his head, right? Like you have like, I don't know, a big bucket on your head, like a chalice maybe. And then it drips from the ether and you can like take it or leave it. And sometimes that's a writing process for me. It describes it very artfully, I guess, but that's how I write, just like that. I sit down and if something comes to my mind and I like it, I write it down. And then I go from there. And from there, you can like attach other pieces from maybe prior sessions, and maybe you can add to a prior session. So it's like, it stays on the paper. And when another idea strikes my head, it can like add to the existing text and the existing lyrics. So it's just like, it can be finished in 5 minutes, or it can be finished in 5 years. It's just like, it doesn't matter for poetry, right? So some of my texts were like lying around for, I don't know, 8-9 years now. And then somehow my guitarist came with some riff, and I was like, wait a second. I need to get to the PC and look up one thing I wrote down back then. And then I can take that line maybe and add to the song, and that's super interesting how that works. I don't know. It's the same with riffs and music pieces, I guess, because I also play a bit of guitar. So you also have like that, okay, I have that, I have that. I don't know what's next. And the next thing sometimes comes into your mind when you play it and don't think about anything, and then poof, there it is. I don't know. It's a creative process, and just let me guide.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. When do you decide? Like, especially when you're doing creative stuff, like you mentioned, right? Like it comes from the ether, and then sometimes things are a hit, and you're like, okay, it came out in 5 minutes, and like all of this came together, and it makes sense for me. And you're like, this is done. Yeah. How do you decide it's done? Or you're like, I'm gonna pack this away, and it's missing something.
Normally, when it comes to songs, you have more or less a structure, right? So you have like a chorus, you have like bridges, and what's the other thing called?
Oh, like
chorus,
verses.
Bridge, and verse, right? Verse. In German, it's Strophe, and I didn't get it. Yeah, the verse, the chorus, and bridges, and other parts, C parts, whatever. And most of the time, when I write lyrics, I like structure it that way. So I'm finished when I think the lyric piece is finished, and that's it. You have a feeling, okay, I cannot tell anything more, but the story is over. That's when I think, okay, it's finished. Sometimes it's like, okay, the story is over and I don't like the piece, right? So I just don't use it. But maybe there's one sentence in it and I just like build up from that sentence again in a whole other lyric because I didn't like that one. But it's just like with finding the right headline. Maybe that's the same a bit. You have to trust your gut. You have to, probably as a singer, you need to like or love what you wrote. Because if you don't, you cannot bring it across. And that's just like, okay, if I like what I wrote, that's fine. Then it's good. Because I don't care if someone else likes it, I need to like it to so I can give my all in the song. And if someone else likes it and tells me, yeah, you need to change that and shit and that, I say, bro, do you sing it or do I sing it?
True.
Right?
Very true.
So it's like my guitarist says, they can make like, is it like proposals? Right?
Yeah.
They can like tell me what they think would be best. But in the end, I need to have the freedom to decide if I want to. Because also they know that in a band, sadly, sometimes it's too important what the singer does. Right? So I need to feel comfortable with it. And if I don't, they don't have a good time and I don't know. So it really depends. When I write something, I need to like really like it. And you also sometimes, I think, feel that something is in there and there's a little spark that made you write that, and it was like, oh, okay, it flowed. Maybe it's the flow part of writing also. When that happened in a lyric, most of the times good. So yeah, that's all I can say about that, I think.
The good old writing, the good old creative.
The good old creative. Yeah. But it's really like that. You have to like be open. I think to be open in your mind and just like let it all flow in. That's the hard and easy part at the same time.
Yeah.
For writing process. Yeah.
It's funny because it's so simple, but it's the most simple stuff is always the most difficult, and it's across the board always the same. I feel like.
Yeah. Also, sometimes you have like lyrics you maybe would never say out loud, but you sing it out loud because you can hide behind, I just wrote it for the song.
True.
Right? So you can be maybe sometimes even more truthful in a song than in real life. I try not to. I try to be both most of the time. Yeah, super hard to do also. Truth. Not a grand theme of...
yeah. Dude, how have you enjoyed like with your band, like performances? Like for you, what is the energy? Like what have been your favorite parts?
Oh, my favorite part is always when they just like getting at each other.
You love the mosh pit. You're like, yo.
When they really like rip off this whole venue. That's like the best thing. But also it's like we have one song that just stops at one point and it's over. And that song has a build up. Like it's going really like, and then it explodes at the end, but then it's like a super sharp cut off. I also really enjoy to play that one live because a super sad song at first, then it's super angry. It just like explodes in the end and then it's over. It's super fun to see the people because they are just like, okay, now I understand what they did there. And then it's over and they're just like, what? So stuff like that really makes me happy. It's not to annoy people, but to like...
It's like teasing them a little bit. Yeah.
Surprise people with something like that. That's cool. But the most enjoyable part for sure is when the audience interacts with you and when the audience jumps and has fun. That's cool because it's your own original music, right? And if you play like cover music, okay, if we play a song by Rage Against the Machine, for example, if you play Killing in the Name, everybody will go off, right? Everybody will jump. Everybody will scream the lyrics and shit. But if they do it with your song, with your lyrics, that's great.
It's a different energy. I feel like you just feel validated. You're like, yeah, this is me. You know, like they're accepting me as a person, as a creative.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, probably. Not that I need their acceptance, but it's like very cool to have like, it still is cool to have feedback, right?
Yeah, to know you're like, yeah, this is mine. Like I did this, like, and you share the experience. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the cool part. You get to like create an experience, share with people, and share it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's also if you ever did art or do art, like with the Coffee Monsters, the best part I had with them was live in a gallery where they all hang in one wall. It was a super big wall. I think they hang like 100 drawings or stuff or something like that. And it was like the most cool experience with the Coffee Monsters, because you could see, first of all, you could see what have you done in all this time, because it was so many. I was like, fuck, the whole wall. Amazing. And then also you can see that every monster looks different, and not every monster is for every person. That's super interesting, because sure, it's my drawing style, but they look very different. And there was like people walking from one piece, 3 pieces on, and just like skip the 2 in between. And other people were like, look just at those 2 and skip the others. And was like, hey, what? Why did they skip that? Why did they skip that? But it's also like, it's all very subjective. And that's maybe a good takeaway.
The beauty of art.
If you do art, just out there and try to just like get the feeling once to go somewhere and present it to someone. Because sure, in your room it's cool, and it's cool to have a creative process. It's also cool to always post it on Instagram and shit. But if you go into a gallery or into a self-rented venue, whatever, right? And show it off in front of your friends, it doesn't matter. It's just a different feeling. It gives it more meaning sometimes.
Comes to life, you know?
Comes to life, yeah.
It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. I think that was like the perfect ending. So thank you so much, Coffee. This is the Life of Ketch series. Also, you were the first one, by the way. So it was honestly so much fun. So it's so much fun to get to talk to you, get to meet you, get to pick out your brain a little bit, learn a bit about copywriting, design process, your life as a creative, Coffee Monsters, musician life. Listen, it's incredible, and we're honored to have you also as a peddler in the community, because you're correct. You're actually correct completely. And also, we need you to fucking make us some rock music, bro. Like fucking.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We're gonna get you in the
I need to check.
I'm about to give you the role for Virtuoso. I'm about to toss you in there. I'm just gonna be like, yo, Pansky, make this man make music. So.
Yeah, Pansky maybe, right? He's just like, he's DJing, right?
I think so. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, we could try. If that, maybe I can like scream on his electronic music.
Yeah, that would be lit. That would actually be kind of fun. All right.
Like do a cat scream.
That would be dope. That might be like the soundbite that we need. Just you screaming as loud as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be nice, I guess.
All right. I appreciate this so much. This call was amazing. I hope, you know.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
You had some fun also. Yeah.
Appreciate time, man. It was fun.
Dude, it was a lot of fun to get to actually meet you and get to like hear your story and everything. And yeah, like love having you in the Ketch, man.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.